daripada nanti kalau ke depannya.
Assalamualaikum Ibu Nur Aida, sudah di room?
Waalaikumsalam Ibu, saya sudah di room.
Alhamdulillah. Ibu Haja Dina juga sudah ada di room, terima kasih. Pak Markus sudah ada di room?
Ibu Dina di unmute dulu Bu. Mute dulu.
Iya, sudah kedengaran suara saya?
Sudah Ibu Haja Dina.
Siap.
Oh, tinggal Pak Markus ya. Baik, kurang lebih 4 menit lagi.
Ada apa ini? Kenapa enggak dua koper?
Oke, Bismillahirrohmanirrohim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Oke, well, Bapak Ibu sekalian, we will continue our event for today, National Seminar on ELT, Issues in Language Teaching. Okay, this is the second session. Our moderator for today is Ibu Noor Aida M.Pd, and we also have two presenter, Haja Dina S.Sos, S.Pd.Ing, S.S. M.Ed, dan Bapak Dr. Markus Deli Girik Allo, S.Pd. M.Pd. Okay, to make our time more effective, I invite to Ibu Noor Aida M.Pd untuk mengatur jalannya nasional seminar kita pada sesi kedua kali ini. Kepada Ibu Noor Aida M.Pd, kami persilahkan dengan hormat.
Okay, thank you for the committee. Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for still joining us in National Seminar on English Language Teaching, Issues in Language Teaching webinar for afternoon sessions. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Aflahah from Universitas Muhammadiyah Banjarmasin. I'll be responsible for moderating these presentations, and I'm glad to welcome our distinguished speakers, Dina Rafidiyah, S.Sos, S.Pd.Ing, S.S. M.Ed, and also Dr. Markus Deli, Girik, Allo, S.Pd. M.Pd, who will present today. To make sure our webinar runs smoothly, so please turn off your mic during our presentations. Okay. So now I would like to introduce our first speakers for today's for this afternoon sessions. Let me share you a screen right now. All right, so for our first sessions, it will be delivered by Dina Rafidiyah S.Sos, S.Pd.Ing, S.S. M.Ed as a lecturer in English Language Teaching Department in UM Banjarmasin, and also as a Dean of Teacher Training Education Faculty in UM Banjarmasin. Okay, her educational background. First, she graduated from Universitas Lambung Mangkurat for bachelor's degrees in social sciences, and then she continued for her diploma 3 degree of translations, and then 2017 till 2009 continued her study in Universitas Terbuka for bachelor's degree in English educations, and also still continue her study in 2009 and 2013 for in Universitas Terbuka for bachelor's degree in literature, and also the current educational background. In 2014 and 2016, she graduated from Pennsylvania State University for her Master of Education. Okay, and for furthermore, her research interests such as follow. She is interested in cross-cultural understanding, in speaking, writing, listening, English for specific purpose, and also in qualitative research. So let me call Ibu Dina Rafidiyah. Are you ready, Ibu?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay.
My voice?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Okay. So without holding you any longer, please welcome to our distinguished speakers, Dina Rafidiyah, S.Sos, S.Pd.Ing, S.S. M.Ed. Time is yours.
Okay, let me share first my. Okay. So actually for today's presentation, we are going to play a game. So for all of you who like to play game, they can join me with typing www.kahoot.it, and then let me share. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Ibu.
Okay. So please join us with www.kahoot.it. So this is afternoon session anyway. So I'm afraid that if I give a lot of material without any game, all of you will going to fall asleep. So I hope that you can join. Just type www.kahoot.it and then enter the pin, which is 2941014. Type your names and then you can join the game. Let me give you like 5 minutes or 4 minutes. 4 minutes for all the participants who want to join the game. Okay, Elsa. Okay. It's quite interesting game and it will be a winner. I hope so. Okay. So I already have. We wait for like 3 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Try to use your own name. So in case of you become a winner, then you can claim your prize. The prize will be given by the committee, I hope. Okay. I give like 4 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes more. If you still want to join, type www.kahoot.it and then type the PIN number 2941014 and don't forget to write down your name. Okay. I hope this are going to be an interesting interactive presentation. And yeah, you still have 3 minutes, so everybody can join. The committee also can join, so don't worry. Everyone can join. I'm not sure how many. Okay. If in case you got problem with your connection, you can write down the PIN number and you can join it later on. Okay. Okay, I give you 2 minutes if anyone want to join. And if you want to join later on, you still can join with the same PIN number. Okay. Yes. Okay. For you who don't know that www.kahoot.it also can do presentation not only as a game but also as a PowerPoint for presentation. Okay. Okay, I give 1 minute, additional 1 minute for any one of you who still want to join this game. Okay. Okay, 1 more minute if anyone want to join. Okay, so we're going to start now. So it's already 30%, 31% who joined the game. Okay, are you ready all? So let's start our game and my presentation. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So actually my presentation today is about sharing practices for teaching intercultural competencies awareness in ELT classroom. This is presented in National Seminar of ELT Issues in Language Teaching, Monday, 28 March 2022. Let me go next. Okay. So actually, as the presenter told, like Ibu Aida told us that actually I have to give a little bit background of myself. So actually, I was born in Baghdad and then finished my high school in Cairo. After that, I got the opportunity to get my TESOL training in Morocco for 1 month. And I got also several opportunity to have my duty in Malaysia, Singapore, and of course, I got my pilgrimage. And I finished my master in America. So all of this actually make me really have like intercultural competence, and that's what I try to tell my student about what is intercultural competence. For now, actually, I teach a lot of the subject such as cross-cultural understanding, translation, speaking, listening, and also writing. So that's why this is like an introduction for me to give what is the discussion for today. For today, we have first is introduction, the second is the definition of intercultural competence, then the third is teaching intercultural competence awareness in ELT classroom, and last one, I'm going to share my practices using multimodality. Let me go next. Okay. So for introduction, I want you to answer this question. What are one word that describe you or identify yourself to other? Can you answer in the chat box? Okay, let me repeat the question. What are one word that describe you or identify yourself to other? So when you want to describe yourself to other, you describe yourself as what? Or what is your identity? Can you answer in the chat in Zoom? Okay. Yeah, friendly, language, very good. Eager, very good. What else? What else? The thing that you want others to know about you. Okay, friendly, innovative, very good. What else? Creative. Okay, friendly, creative. Okay. So actually, what is this question lead to? This is actually to reflect to all of yourself before you know or before you want to teach about intercultural competence. Because if you don't know yourself, it's very hard to teach about intercultural competence. Okay, so let me go next. Okay, yeah. Can you answer this question? Before teaching intercultural competence, teacher needs to understand about their own culture or identity. What do you think? Is it true or false? Okay. Yes. Okay, so 16% answer true. So let's see who's the fastest one answer the question. Okay, Ali. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, if teacher wants to prepare student in a global interconnected world, they must teach intercultural competence. Okay, so what is the answer? Do you agree or disagree? Okay, so 19 answer agree. Okay, let's see who's the highest or the fastest one answer the question. Okay, let's go next. Okay, so when we talk about teaching language, there's many methods that were already done. For example, the first is grammar translation method. That one, the purpose is to give the knowledge for someone to understand what to read and what to write. That is the first of grammar translation method. And after that, in around 1940s, they got audiolingual method, which is they use that to prepare American soldier to go for battle in the preparation for World War II. And then after that, we have communicative language teaching. But in communicative language teaching, it basically depend on native speakerism. So it means that there is no identity for the student. The student just duplicate the native, and that becomes a communicative language teaching. That's what intercultural competence came to give the opportunity for each individual to become a global citizen, which is that is the what we discussed for today's presentation. Okay, let's go next. Okay, so what is the definition of culture? Here, according to Herbig in 1998, that culture is the sum of a way of life, including expected behavior, belief, values, language, and living practices. That's why it's really explicitly and implicitly ruled through which is that experience is interpreted, which is it's a bad practice or good practice or related to what is the culture value that we embrace. For the next one, I'm going to talk about intercultural competence. So according to Brian 2005, by learning foreign language, actually the student have to get the opportunity to become familiar with other culture, but still they have to understand their own culture belonging. So that's why understanding other culture is good, but in the same time, they don't withgo their identity. As they have their own culture. Okay, so let's go to next definition. Here, intercultural competence, according to the draft 2006, actually it's the ability to develop targeted knowledge, skill, and attitude. And that lead to visible behavior and communication that are both effective and appropriate in intercultural interaction. That's what happened now in this global world, which is that it's not, it's something that's really common actually, that we have to talk to people outside of our country with different nationality, with different languages in the lingua franca, which is what we use nowadays is mostly English. Okay, so the research showed that intercultural competence, not a natural occurring phenomenon, but a lifelong process of learning, which is that according to DERDOF 2006, it concludes the knowledge, skill, and attitude. Okay, let me explain for each one because it will be the next question. So prepare yourself for the next question. So according to DERDOF 2006, knowledge is divided into 4: cultural self-awareness, which is articulating how one's own culture has shaped one's identity and worldview. While the second one, culture-specific knowledge, analyzing and explaining basic information about other culture, which is history, values, politics, economics, communication style, values, belief, and practices. While in social linguistic awareness, acquiring basic local language skill, articulating differences in verbal or non-verbal communication, and adjusting one's speech to accommodate nationals from other culture. Graphs of global issues and trends explaining the meaning and implication of globalization and relating local issues to global forces. So all that 4 things is concluded in knowledge. How about skill? Let's go to the next slide. Okay, talking about skill. Okay, let me move to that one. Okay, listening, observing, evaluating, using patience and perseverance to identify and minimize ethnocentrism, seek our cultural clues and meaning. The second one, analyzing, interpreting, and relating, seeking out linkage, causality, and relationships using comparative techniques of analysis. While critical thinking, viewing and interpreting the world from other cultures' point of view and identifying one's own. So all that 3 things conclude in skills. Okay, let's discuss the last one, which is attitude. How about attitude? In doing the intercultural competence, we have to have this kind of attitude. First is respect, seeking out other cultures' attribute, value cultural diversity, thinking comparatively and without prejudice about cultural differences. The second one is openness, suspending criticism of other cultures, investing in collecting evidence of cultural difference, being disposed to be proven wrong. The third one is curiosity, seeking out intercultural interaction, viewing differences of learning opportunity, being aware of one's own ignorance. And the last one is discovery, tolerating ambiguity, and viewing it as a positive experience, willingness to move beyond one's comfort zone. So all those 4 attitudes must be included if we want to teach the intercultural competence. Okay, let's go to the question. Okay, so this is the quiz. Okay. Acquiring basic local language skill, articulating differences in verbal and non-verbal communication is included in when? Which one? Knowledge, skill, or attitude? Choose one of the choices. Okay, the answer is knowledge. Okay, let's see the result. Okay, yeah, Ali still in the top scorer. And let's go to the next question. Okay, viewing and interpreting the world from other cultures' point of view and identifying one's own. So what do you think? Is it concluded to knowledge or attitude or skill? Okay, it's skill, yeah. So it becomes skill. Okay, so let's see who's the highest score. Who's still Ali? Okay, let's go to the next question. Explaining the meaning and implications of globalization and relating local issues to global forces. So, in which category it will go? Okay. Okay, it's knowledge, yeah. It's knowledge. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, Ali still in the top scorer. Okay, suspending criticism of other cultures, investing in collecting evidence of cultural difference. So what do you think it go to? Is it to knowledge, skill, or attitude? Okay, attitude. Okay, very good. Most of you answered the right one. Okay, let's see who's the fastest to answer the question. Okay, Ali is unmovable. Okay, let's go to the next one. Using passion and perseverance to identify and minimize ethnocentrism, seek out cultural clues and meaning. So in which category this go to? Okay, skills. Very good. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next one. Suspending criticism of other cultures, investing in collecting evidence of cultural difference. Okay. Okay, so it's attitude. Actually, the answer is attitude. Okay, let's see the result. Okay, Ali still in the top and Menuk strike ya, with 4 correct answer in row. Okay, the next question, knowledge, skill, and attitude refer to individual who learns to be flexible, adaptable, empathetic, and adapt leads to, okay, what do you think? Internal outcome or external outcome? Flexible, adaptable, empathetic, and adapt leads to, okay, it's internal outcome, yeah. So that's what happened from inside of the individual, not from outside. How someone become flexible, adaptable, empathetic, and adapt to all of the intercultural competence. Okay, let's see the result. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, knowledge, skill, attitude refer to the observable behavior and communication style of the individual leads to, is it internal or external outcomes? Okay, it should be external outcome because the previous one is internal outcomes. Okay, so let's see who's the faster in answering question. Okay, it is going up and down, except the first one is stay still. Okay, congratulations for Ali, but don't worry, we still have a lot of questions to answer. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so actually this picture I took when I had my TESOL training in Morocco, and actually it was really interesting experience because I have to teach English from elementary school to high school in one of the local school there, and it was really challenging for me to use English from beginning of the class until the end. I cannot use any other languages, even though I can speak Arabic, but still I cannot use that language to teach the classes. That's why when we talk about teaching intercultural awareness in ELT classroom, we have to really understand what is intercultural awareness, which is here, according to Chen and Starosta 1996, that intercultural awareness is the cognitive dimension of intercultural communication competence, which refers to the ability to effectively and appropriately execute communication behavior that negotiate each other's culture. That means that actually when we have our culture and then there is another culture, it's not because of that different culture we have to speak the same English, for example. There is many adjustment of each culture to use English as if like related to their culture. So let's see the next slide first. According to Biram in 1997, the model of intercultural communicative competence, there are 5 main points, which is the first one is attitude, the second one is knowledge, the third one is skill of interpreting and relating, the fourth one skill of discovery and interaction, and the last one is critical cultural awareness. So Brian model become really effective to know about intercultural communicative competence in practice. Let's go to the next slide. How about Becker's model 2011 of intercultural awareness? There are 3 levels to do intercultural competence. First thing, or level 1, we call it basic cultural awareness. And the second one, or the second level, is concerning more complex understanding of culture and cultural frames of reference moving from essentialist positions. While the third level is intercultural awareness itself. So there is like these 3 levels that we have to pass through to go with Becker's model in teaching intercultural awareness. Okay. Okay, let's go for the next quiz. You can choose more than one. So there are differences between these 2 models. They refer to the ability to handle intercultural communication. Okay. So which one is describing the difference between these 2 models? Okay. Okay, so actually all the answer is right. So actually you can choose all the answer. So according to Biram, uses communicative competence with his intercultural competence. It's the same. While Becker associates the term competence, the more loosely defined and holistic. According to Becker, focus of the fluid, complex, and emergent natural of the relationship intercultural communication. According to Biram's model, still a target culture to relate to intercultural dimension. So all the 4 choices is right. Okay, so let's see who can answer all right. Okay, still Ali, yeah. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, so let me share my practices using multimodality. Actually, the picture that I show here is actually the last class picture before I went for my master to America. So I show a video to my student. It's like a short video around like 10 minutes about nursing, about an Indonesian nurse who worked in Japan, and she helped with tsunami victims in Japan at that time. And then I asked the student to give me any word, any English word related to that video. And this is all the word that they told me. They say it's responsibility, it's interesting, it's awesome, it's amazing, it's disaster, it's cool, it's speechless, it's care, it's touch, sincerely, humanism, and it's hero. And I add one word, I think, sorry, is it connection? Okay, so I add one word in the top of all the words from my student, which is love. So love actually help us in doing all our job to make it not as a job, but as the thing that we really love to do. So actually I'm teaching about love movies and song, and this is what I'm going to share with all of you, what is happening in my class. Okay. Okay, so actually what I teach is actually listening circle. Listening circle is this step that they have to do. First is they have to watch the movie or listen to the song. And then they have to discuss with your group about the movie or the song. Each group has to be expert in their own movie or song. Actually, the movie they choose by themselves, but for the song, I choose for them because that's related to the translation of that international song. The fourth one is the expert present to other group. It means that for each group, they have to go to other group to explain about their movie or their song. And then each of them have to do individual reflection about the activity. The last one, they have to make digital storytelling. Okay, next one is a question to answer. For each movie or song, they have to tell about that movie. For example, where the movie was made, and then who made it, and then who's the what is the story behind that, and so on. The next one, they have to tell about the content of the movie or the song itself. The third question is, what is your inspiration of the movie or the song? So the song that I use here is actually international song. It's not only it's like from all around the world. It's not an English song. It's international song. The first one is, what cultural value that you can get from the movie or song? So they have to answer this question and they have to explain it to the other group. The last one is, what can you bring to your future career as teacher? So all these 5 questions, they have to answer related to the movie or the song that they become expert on. Okay, let's go next. Okay, this is all 5 movies that actually they chosen by the student. Actually, I done this activity twice in one semester. The first half of the semester, I did it online, which is like we do it through Zoom. But at that time, the movie, I think it's only limited. While the second part of the semester, the student can choose the movie related to all of educational movie that they can choose. So there's 50 movies in one website that they can choose. And these 5 movies are chosen by the student. So each group of 5 or 6 students have to choose one of these movie. So they choose, like, first is Freedom Writer, which is the movie from 2007, and then Beyond the Blackboard from the movie in 2011. The next is The Great Debater from 2007, The Kindergarten Teacher from 2018, Phoebe in Wonderland from 2008. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Okay, can you guess which movie that they like the most? Even though each group has their own movie, but in the end of the class, I asked them which one that really touched them as a story or as the meaning of the story. Yeah, can you choose or can you guess which one that they choose? So one class is about 30 students. Okay. So actually from that class, they choose Freedom Writer 2007. So actually this is the comment of one of the students related to the movie. Okay, let's see. Okay, Ali is still in the top, yeah. Okay, I like Freedom Writer because this movie teach us as prospective teachers to not only introducing learning material to students, but also changing the mindset of students. Freedom of Writer, really interesting story because it's telling the story about a new teacher who teach a class that full of gangster and all the like the juvenile who come to the class. And actually the first time the teacher come, they almost kill each other because of their hate different races. So there is a black, the Latina, and then Chinese, India. So all the rest like hate each other. And the teacher bring them together as one. And there's a lot of things like actually you should watch the movie because the movie is really good. And it's really inspired my student that actually a freedom writer, the teacher in freedom writer really did a good job in doing teaching not only material, but also changing the mindset of the student. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, I use international love song actually. So one of the song that I use here is Tum Hi Ho, is from India, and Dina from Morocco, Mashair from Egypt, Jan El Hawa from Lebanon, and Goodbye My Love from South Korea. Actually, what I did in my class, actually, I put the original Romanian script, which is the original language, and then the right one, I put the English version that I found out in YouTube. First thing first, I asked the student to find if they find any grammar mistake or word choice mistake or something else related to mechanic, and they have to discuss that with their friend about what is changing or what the thing that they change of this English translation to make it related to the original song. Since actually Moroccan, Egypt, and Lebanon, I understand the language, I can explain more to them what is the thing that happened inside of that song. For India and South Korea, mostly I don't really understand the song, but actually I watched the movie for Tum Hi Ho because that song is related to a movie, and I try to understand what is happening in the movie, and that's related to the song. So from all the five songs, I think you have to guess for the next question, which one that they like best. Okay. Okay. Can you guess which one that they like best, even though it's not their own group song? Okay. Okay, so actually, surprisingly, they choose Tum Hi Ho as the best song according to this group of students. Just like almost 30 students choose, and they think that Tum Hi Ho is really touching because of the story in that song is really touching deep. And let's see what the comment of one of my students related to that song. Okay, oh, Ali still the highest. Okay. Because the song Tum Hi Ho itself tells about someone's love, where he can find the slightest meaning of himself without the presence of his lover. I like it because the love story that he received was sincere love, but all that was lost because there was no partner figure. So surprisingly, this answer actually came from a boy, which is he really he really take into deep meaning of that song. And when he explained that song to a friend outside of his group as a expat, it shows that how he is really connect to the song and really like understand what is the meaning of the song. In my opinion, as a candidate of teacher, feeling love is really essential to become a teacher. You cannot become a teacher if you don't have love in your heart. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is one of the picture of how they become expert and come to other group and explain about their movie and explain about their song, and like everybody ask question, why it's happening like that, why is this so, and what happened in the movie, and so on. I think what happened is like most of my students, they become lazy to even watch a movie for like 2 hours. So when there's someone come to their group to tell about the story, they really pay attention. They really pay attention and they really ask questions about the movie. And actually, as expert, the person who expert in this movie or this song, he has to answer all the questions. And in the end of the class, actually, I asked all the students in the group to choose who's the best expert that come to their group. And actually seeing the class so active is the dream of every teacher. And I become really happy actually what happened in my class, which is they really like all the students contribute, all the students speak. Some of them speak English, some of them speak like the mixture between Indonesia and English, and some of them speak our local language. But for me, actually, they understand what is the movie, and they understand also what the international song that they present in other group. Okay. Okay. So basically, students don't need a perfect teacher. They need a happy teacher who's going to make them excited to come to school and grow a love for learning. So this has become my motto as a teacher. So I really think about all the activity that I bring to the class and make my students do it. I don't want to lie. Actually, some class I become really excited to give a lot of activity because of they're really active in the class. But some of my class also become really passive, and it's hard for me to give them any activity if they don't want to really move or they don't want to do any activity related to my assignment and so on. But somehow, as a teacher, we have to try to make our student always active in the class. Okay, so let's answer the next one. Yeah, you can answer more than one question. Do you think this kind of activity is fun? Yes. Okay, so 17 say yes and 3 say maybe. Okay. Please answer next question also. Okay, there is no movement. Al is always in the top. Yes. Okay, do you want to apply this activity in your class? Okay. You can answer more than one. You can say yes, you can say no, you can say maybe. All is right answer for me. Okay. Some say yes, mostly the majority say yes, some say maybe, and someone say no. Okay. Let's wrap up. This is some references that I use in this presentation. And I think this is my contact. This is my email. you can write down my email, my Yahoo, my Gmail, and this is also my Facebook and Instagram account, also my mobile, if you have any other further question. Okay, so let's see who's the winner of this game. I hope that this presentation is interesting somehow and also informative for all of you. Okay, let's go to the announcement. Okay, so the third one, Seftia Noor. The second one, Chessy. And the first one is, okay, Ali. And then we have Alice and Rindiani. Okay, so I think that's all for my presentation. I hope it's really benefit for all of you. At least this is only my sharing. If you like this activity, can you please give your thumb up? Rate this game. Do you like it or not? What is your feeling? Do you recommend it to someone else? And what do you think about that learning outcome? Is it good or not? Okay. Thanks God. Okay, still someone feel sad. Maybe because of he's losing. Okay, so okay, the feeling is like up and down. Okay, so I want to say thank you for your contribution to this game playing, and I hope that this one is really inspire you to give your best during your teaching class. And I looking forward for any question or any additional maybe information that you can give me. I'm still learning how to be a good teacher, and hopefully someday I become the best one. Okay, so that's all for me. Thank you all for your time and your attention. See you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Haja Dina Rafidiyah, for sharing insightful knowledge for us on teaching intercultural awareness in ELT classroom. So based on Ibu Dina Rafidiyah explanation, so we can, by implementing intercultural awareness, so we can teach effectively and fun, ya Bu ya. And also the students can use language effectively and appropriate. Okay, so for question and answer, we'll later on or after second guest speakers presentations. Okay, now let's move to our next guest. I would like to invite Pak. Okay, so Pak Markus already here. Good afternoon, Pak Markus.
Afternoon, Ibu Noor Aida.
Okay, sir. Okay, but first I would like to introduce our distinguished speakers. Let me share your screen right now. So, okay, so our second speakers is Pak Dr. Markus Deli Girik Allo, S.Pd. M.Ed. He is English teacher at English Study Program at Universitas Kristen Indonesia Toraja. And also for his educational background, he graduated from Bachelor of Education English Study Program in Universitas Kristen Indonesia Toraja. For his master degree, he graduated from English Education Department of Universitas Negeri Makassar, and also for his doctoral degree, he graduated from English Education Department Universitas Negeri Makassar. Furthermore, his research interest, Mr. Markus is interested in ethnography study, qualitative research, English literature, and culture. So without any further ado, I would like to invite Pak Markus Deli Girik Allo to give us insightful knowledge in this afternoon sessions. Pak Markus, time is yours.
Thank you, Ibu Noor Aida. Ibu Noor Aida.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think you can hear me. Okay. At this day, I'd like to present the paper, but before I would like to say good day and best wishes for all of us. The Honorable National Seminar Committee, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present my paper in art cultural tourism to support ELT. Okay, I'll be by the questions why art cultural tourism. Brahmanta 2014 finds that both fields, natural and cultural tourism, have the same special attraction for tourists. However, if we want to try to observe the tendencies of tourists, especially foreign tourists, the field of main attraction is the field of culture. The natural tourism seems to be just a resting place for tourists. Tourist attraction to the field of culture can be known from various indicators. First, the number of tourists who visit traditional ceremony, for instance, in Toraja, the death ceremony in Toraja, the main attraction of the foreign tourists is cultural pattern, such belief, norm, values, and social practices of indigenous people of Toraja. The second, the number of tourists who are interested in buying traditional objects is typical. And the third is the number of tourists who are interested in learning typical culture. There's dancing, woven fabrics, miniature of traditional house, so-called and the fourth, the number of tourists who are interested in the hospitality in response. In the long run, the field of culture seems to dominate the motivation of tourists. This is closely related to the increasingly rare traditional nuances in the developed country. Related to the dimension of Torajan tourism, there are four dimensions of Torajan tourism. The first one is cultural tourism. So, for instance, that feast, wedding feast, Thanksgiving feast in Toraja, and then nature tourism. You can see the pictures of the nature tourism, Allo in Toraja. Historical tourism. I provide example here, baby grave in Toraja, specifically in Sangala, and well-known place or well-known object of tourism, agro-tourism, Pango-Pango. So there are four dimensions of Torajan tourism. They are art cultural tourism, nature tourism, historical tourism, and agro tourism. Related to ELT, Hasim and Bala Kristen 2006 claimed that our cultural tourism has become a very important field in ELT context. Our cultural tourism creates opportunity for learners to communicate and interact in situational. When learners are put in situation to communicate naturally without stress, they are experience a greater level of successful language acquisition than those students educated in the aforementioned traditional teaching methodology. Malila and Setiorini 2014 state that a limited study to discover a relationship between tourism and education. And in line with para Kapien Kid 2013 claimed that there has not been in-depth scientific research into the issue of tourism. Several individual scientific articles dealing with the different topic of education and tourism can be found. And in the context of tourism of Toraja, although tourism is a major contributor to Toraja's economy, our cultural tourism related courses are insufficient. It is worth noting that learners should be offered an cultural tourism topic that equips them with the proficient level of English in order to communicate successfully in the real world. So based on this, background, the objective of the study are to explore how EFL lecturer perceive our cultural tourism, how this perception translates into their classroom practices, and the extent to which the approaches in relation to our cultural tourism impact on learners' affective, behavior, cognitive aspect in ELT context. The research method of this study is a qualitative research method based on Crystal 2012. And this is a longitudinal process of getting the data design based on Spreadley 1980. And the study conducted at English Education Study Program of FKIP Bukit Toraja. The subject of the research are 4 lecturers. They are choosing purposefully, and 50 learners nobly sampling based on Crystal 2012. Instrument used are observation, interview, and document analysis based on Crystal 2012. And technique of data analysis, lecturer talk, analyzed through description, interpretation, and explanation. Observation data through transcription and coding, and interview by using thematic analysis. And to obtain the accurate and credible data, I triangulated among different types of data. Okay, the result of this study, the first is lecturers' perception on our cultural tourism to support ELT. The classifications of lecturers in the study based on the 3 terms on how the lecturers perceive the definitions, dimension, and significance of our cultural tourism in ELT context. So the first classifications is strongly supportive of our cultural tourism. One EFL lecturer, Mr. Otto, has been categorized as being strongly supportive of our cultural tourism. He perceived art cultural tourism as something significant and valuable in learning process. And related to the dimension of the cultural tourism, Mr. Otto reviewed that the dimension of our cultural tourism has the potential to motivate learners. He is supportive in the art cultural tourism implementation in ELT. He claims that when using in the classroom, it has the potential to improve learner understanding of the subject matter. He believes the cultural aspects are important in learning, that they can help learner achieving the learning goals. And the second classification is fairly supportive of cultural tourism. Two FL lecturers, pseudonym Mr. Roy and Miss Rina, have been categorized as fairly supportive of our cultural tourism because they view our cultural tourism positively and encourage its use, but they see another important side in learning, that is achievement of the learning plan. And the last classification is a weekly supportive of our cultural tourism. One EFL lecturer, pseudonym Mrs. Rida, has been categorized as a weekly supportive of our cultural tourism, as she does not pay attention to our cultural tourism used in ALT context. She claimed that maybe he had used our cultural tourism or not when teaching. She does not care about that. That uh, these conditions also shows that Mrs. Rida does not know about the dimension, significance, and the definitions of art cultural tourism in ALT context. The second result here is classroom practices, how the lecturers put the approach in implementations of our cultural tourism in their classroom practices. So the first classifications, the lecturer who are strongly supportive of our cultural tourism implement a constructivist approach in their classroom practices. For instance, he implemented independent learning, inquiry-driven learning, and self-directed learning. He also acts as a facilitator and supervisor in classroom context. And he also allows learners to think critically and learn independently. And beside constructivist approach, he also used creative and innovative that is involving art cultural tourism in the process of teaching, such Rambu Solo, the dead feast of Toraja, Rampanan Kapa, wedding ceremony, and Mangrarabanua, traditional house feast, in teaching context to connect learners' affective, behavior, and cognitive aspect. And for the second classifications, the lecturers who is fairly supportive of art cultural tourism, they applied a varied approach to art cultural tourism in LT context, from student center to more teacher center learning. The role switches from facilitator to the source of information, and supportive of our cultural tourism, but not as much as in group A, that is lecturers who is strongly supportive of our cultural tourism. The last classifications of how is the lecturers put the approach in their classroom practices related to art culture is weakly supportive of art cultural tourism. She implemented the teacher-centered tourism in EFL teaching, characterized by dominates the class and control every behavior, banning learners from moving too much in the seat, forbidding learners from making too loud noises, warning loudly to understand them, to undressed learners, and to reference books as a source of learnings that provide an ELT context. And overall, entirely focused on teaching and learning and not supportive of art cultural tourism in ELT context. And the third finding is the impact of art cultural tourism implementation on learners' effective aspect in ELT context. There are three results here based on the classification of the lectures. So Griffin in 2010 addresses the importance of execution method in strengthening pupils' motivation for learning. So in the study, learners of the strongly supportive of art cultural tourism lecturer generally show a lot of improvement in effective aspect. The implementation of art cultural tourism in ELT in satisfaction and interest in class learning. And learners of fairly supportive of art cultural tourism demonstrate their change in effective aspect, namely participate with enthusiasm in ELT process. While the learners of the weakly supportive of art cultural tourism tend to show the negative impact on effective aspects such as boredom and side talks. And the impact of art cultural tourism implementation on learners' behavioral aspect in ELT context. Approach educational tourism in the form of the students' exchange programs, which provide students with opportunities for learning about other countries, culture, custom, and tradition, as well as and new experience based on 2004. And in the study, learners of the strongly supportive of art cultural lectures become highly engaged and active in participating in class. For instance, assignment on time and interacting with classmates in dealing with the course topic. And the learners of the fairly supportive of art cultural tourism show the change in behavioral aspects such as writing down notes and attending lectures. And the last one is learners with the lecturers with weakly supportive of art cultural tourism show the negative behavior such as daydreaming and looking outside while the process of ELT context. And the last part of the result of the study is the impact of art cultural tourism used by the 4 EFL lectures on learners' cognitive aspect. Buhian et al. 2010 state that in terms of certain university studies, educational tourism may be perceived as a tool for value and experience-based learning. And related to this, the study shows that the learners of the strongly supportive of art cultural tourism shows their change of the learning in cognitive aspects such as self-regulated learning. The learners can implement self-regulated learning, and lecturers who implement, who support, fairly supportive of our cultural tourism, shows the change in the learner's cognitive, such a discipline of working and collecting tasks, and the learners with the lecturers who is weakly supportive of our cultural tourism show the negative cognitive change, such as not ready to accept assignment from lecturers. And overall, the result of the studies confirms that EFL lecturers perceive our cultural tourism divided into three categories. They are strongly supportive of our cultural tourism, weakly supportive of our cultural tourism, and weakly supportive of our cultural tourism. So each EFL lecture show the different impact on the learners' effective behavioral and cognitive aspect in ELT context. So the study, I recommend that the lecturers in ELT context apply the art cultural tourism to create the humanistic teaching and learning activities, and of course apply the constructivist approach in order to make the dynamic classroom in ELT context. So the committee, ladies and gentlemen, this is my presentations today. About our cultural tourism to support ELT. Ibu Noor.
Okay, all right, Bapak. Thank you so much for your insightful knowledge about art cultural tourism for support English language teaching. Now let's come to our next sessions, question and answer questions. I would like to invite all of you to ask questions for our distinguished speakers, Ibu Dina Rafidiyah and also Bapak Markus, Deli, Girik, Allo. You can use our chat box to ask any questions. I would like to invite four people first, and also you can raise your hand features to ask directly to our speakers. Okay, audience, do you have any questions to our distinguished speakers? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Since masih belum ada yang bertanya, can I have what is it? Questions for our speakers, Pak Markus and also Bu Dina? Bu, yeah. So, okay then. So,
Silakan Ibu Nur Aida.
okay. I also interested in in cultural awareness in ELT classroom and also art cultural tourism. Can I ask what are the challenges in implementing intercultural awareness in ELT classroom? This is questions for Ibu Dina and also for Pak Markus. And also I would like to ask you about the challenges in implementing art cultural tourism to support our English language teaching. Maybe that is my questions. Who wants to answer first? Bu Dina or Pak Markus?
I think I can answer first. Pak Markus, is it okay?
Go on, Bu.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so thank you, Wai, for the question. Actually, when we talk about intercultural awareness, it's I think teaching them it's not, I can say it's easy, but it's not easy in the same time. When I say it's easy, actually, if we already got the right material to give to the student, it's become easier for us. What is the objective or what is the goal of our class? In my case, actually, what happened in my class is like most of my student, when it's become online class, they it's hard to measure if they really active in doing their listening cycle for the movies. So it's really hard for me to understand if all the members in the group are active or not. But when I do the same activity offline, I can control all the member of the group that they have to really active. All of them have to move. All of them have to participate in become the expertise in the movie and in the song. So in case of they don't watch the movie, for example, because of they're lazy or because of they don't have time. I know the student nowadays very busy. It's busier than the teacher itself. So at least in their own group, they have to discuss what is the content of the movie, what is the value of the movie, what is the cultural awareness that happened in the movie or in the international song. So they have to really talk to their friend what is happening. And everyone of each group has to be really active because all of them has to become the expertise who come to other group and explain about the movie or the international song. So I think offline class is really effective, which is I can control what is happening in the class, what they learn, what they got the value, and so on. But for online class, it's become a little bit challenging for us to control if they really, like every member of the group are really working or not. So that I think that is challenges that I passed through the online class. But for offline class, I think everything is under control. And for the movie, for what I understand from the student, actually they want to have the variety of choices for the movie that they have to choose. In that case, also some of the students still say that actually the movie is boring. I mean, like mostly for boy, they think that those kind of movie is not like action movie. Like for example, Marvel movie, it's become really interesting for boy. But for those kind of educational movie, some boy think that that's not really interesting at all to watch, especially if there's a lot of drama in that movie. So that's the second challenge that I face, but somehow they still have to active because that's an assignment from the teacher anyway, so they have to do it. I think that's what happened in my class, and hopefully that it becomes some kind of input for other teacher if they want to practice what I share in this presentation. Thank you, Aida. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you for answering my question. Okay, now maybe Pak Markus, it's also have Mr. Shahbal has also similar questions with me, sir. What are the difficulties that have you faced in teaching art cultural tourism in ELT? Okay, please, Mr. Markus.
Thank you, Ibu Noor. Based on the finding of the data, the results validity shows that the implementation of our cultural tourism in ELT context shows that positive impact on the implementations of our cultural tourism in ELT context related to the change in learners' affective, behavioral, and cognitive aspect. But in another case, the learners suggest that they need the edutourism such executions go to the real object of explaining the material, but in the fact that this is not the tourism processes, it is only the implementations of our cultural tourism in the particular subject or courses is in different in the 4 different classes. So the challenges is the learners need a real place of material such go right to edutourism such execution and the real object tourism of cultural tourism in Toraja. But actually dealing with the culture of Toraja in the term of belief, norm, social practices, and values, it is their own culture, so it is easy for them to understand the cultural pattern that exists in our cultural tourism. So that's my answer, Ibu Noor.
Thank you so much, Markus. So, okay, I see someone is raising her hand. I would like to invite Ibu Eka Prabawati Room. You might open your mic and please ask your questions to our speakers.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a question to Dr. Markus. Hi, Dr. Markus.
Hello, Ibu Eka, mates in the State University
Okay,
of Makassar.
I'm wondering, yes. I'm wondering about the art culture form in this case. Seperti apa bentuk art culture yang Bapak Dokter maksud untuk kemudian bisa mensupport ELT. Lalu yang kedua, bagaimana kita memprevent boredness karena kayak perasaan bosan itu bisa saja muncul, apalagi kalau yang kita ajarkan adalah siswa yang kebetulan dia living just beside the culture. Maksud saya mereka terbiasa dengan culture itu. Artinya mereka sudah paham dan bagaimana misalkan menghilangkan perasaan jenuh ketika kita mengajarkan culture itu ke siswa yang hidup di budaya itu juga. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Eka. Okay, please, Pak Markus.
Okay, let me to answer bahasa Indonesia karena Ibu Eka bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia. Sebelumnya Ibu Eka adalah teman kelas saya di UNEM.
Oh, I see, Pak. Oh iya, Pak.
Okay, dan kami sering diskusi termasuk hari ini juga bertanya terkait dengan art cultural tourism. Nah, dimensi dari art cultural tourism sendiri yang diimplementasikan dalam ELT itu adalah kalau kita bicara art culture itu terbagi 2, art and cultural. Yang art itu dalam konteks budaya Toraja kita bicara dancing, kita bicara weaving, kita bicara mengukir dan sebagainya. Ada juga kesenian patung-patung dan sebagainya. Ada juga miniatur rumah Toraja. Dan kemudian dari segi cultural aspect itu kita bicara soal konsep wisata yang terkait dengan budaya orang Toraja, misalnya dead feast atau yang lebih dikenal di Toraja itu Rambu Solo atau pesta kematian di Toraja yang biasanya itu mengorbankan ternak dengan berbagai jenis level tergantung dari level pesta kematian itu sendiri. Kemudian ada juga Thanksgiving. Kalau kita bicara Thanksgiving, ada Mararabanua, ucapan syukur untuk rumah baru atau tongkonan yang baru didirikan. Kemudian seremoni dan yang lainnya. Nah, bagaimana ini diimplementasikan dalam proses pembelajaran sehingga memberikan atau menunjukkan dampak yang positif dalam 3 aspek afeksi, behavior, dan kognisi mahasiswa itu adalah selama kurang lebih 6 bulan saya mengobservasi kelas 4 dari dosen ini dari awal pertemuan sampai terakhir di akhir semester itu memang sih tidak 100% 4 dosen ini mengimplementasikan art cultural tourism dalam pembelajaran, tetapi memang didominasi oleh art cultural tourism itu sendiri. Karena memang sebelum data ini diambil, saya sudah mengobservasi 19 dosen dan memang untuk memenuhi kriteria secara purposif 4 dosen itu yang memang secara konsisten itu mengimplementasikan art cultural tourism dalam proses pembelajaran. Nah, implementasinya itu secara konstruktivis melalui proses diskusi. Ketika materi yang diajarkan oleh dosen itu susah dipahami, maka dengan mudahnya dosen itu akan mengambil contoh art cultural tourism, misalnya proses researching, pengambilan data di masyarakat. Dia memberikan contoh tentang bagaimana mengambil data etnografi di proses death ceremony di Toraja. Kurang lebih seperti itu. Dia akan exemplifying the art cultural tourism in order to the learners. Sepanjang proses longitudinal proses ini itu menunjukkan proses secara positif pada afeksi, behavior, dan kognisi dari mahasiswa. Kemudian ada pertanyaan Bu Eka yang sangat menarik tadi, itu bagaimana sih mengajarkan konsep budaya art cultural tourism. Padahal siswanya atau mahasiswanya memang karakternya memang orang suka bosan dalam proses pembelajaran. Nah, yang saya observasi selama semester itu, salah satu dosen yaitu fairly supportive of art cultural tourism, pseudonimnya adalah Mr. Roy, itu dia membawakan art cultural tourism itu dengan lebih menyelipkan sisi joke-nya. Jadi di awal pembelajaran ketika melihat situasi kelas itu agak gaduh, maka dia akan mengambil joke tapi sedikit serius dengan menggunakan art cultural tourism. Misalnya pada aspek diskurs di Toraja dia menggunakan tomak parapa istilahnya ya. Bagaimana dia menggunakan diskurs yang hanya digunakan dalam pesta-pesta besar di Toraja, dan itu jarang sekali digunakan dalam proses pembelajaran. Dengan demikian, ya walaupun tidak signifikan perubahan misalnya burden pada mahasiswa, tetapi perhatian mahasiswa itu sudah mulai terbangun. Nah, sepanjang proses itu development-nya kelihatan jelas. Dan memang kondisi setiap kelas pasti ada saja mahasiswa yang memang pada kondisi yang memang tidak mau belajar, mungkin karena punya gaya belajar yang lain. Jadi yang saya lihat adalah bagaimana seorang dosen fairly supportive art cultural tourism ini mengimplementasikan constructivist approach, sehingga siswa-siswa yang tadinya bosan itu sudah mulai punya motivasi yang baik dan interest yang baik pada pembelajaran. Ibu Dr. Eka, Ibu Noor, Tabe.
Oke, bagaimana Ibu Eka? Do you have
Yes. No more. Thank you, Pak Dokter, for your insightful answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Dr. Eka.
Okay. Now we still have 2 more questions. It's from Hasnawati. Maybe this question is for Ibu Dina. First question is, could you give the example of Becker's model? And also for the second questions, can you give, according to Byram's model, Byram's have 4 points. Could you give the example of them? Okay. Ibu Dina Rafidiyah, you might answer Hasnawati questions.
Okay, so for the question from, sorry, from what's the name?
Hasnawati.
Okay, so Ibu Hasna or Mbak Hasna, actually you asked about the component of Rhymes model of intercultural competence. So actually when we talk about models, when we talk about attitude, what we have to do with the student is to make them curious or make them have the openness or readiness to suspend disbelief about other culture and belief about one's own culture. So basically interculture is not only about other culture, but also it's about our culture. So it's interchangeable. How to make this attitude of the student. We have to prepare them to be curious and have the openness. That's why when I try to give the activity to the student, I try to give really the thing that common that they can actually find it easy. For example, like a movie or international song, which is okay, sorry. I think it's like something happened to my connection. Okay, so let me explain again. What the meaning of attitude is actually the curiosity, how to make the curiosity or openness, or how to make the student become really ready about other culture, and also they have the belief about their own culture. So this is what is the challenges of interculture. It's not about the other culture also, but our culture, it's become really important. The second thing is about knowledge. When we talk about knowledge in Byram's model, so it's about a social group and their product and practices, and how this interlocks country and the general processes of societal and individual interaction. So this kind of knowledge actually really important for the student to know what is happening around the world, what is happening between that two cultures that they have to face, our own and also from other culture. The third one related to skill of interpreting and relating. So this one is really important actually, because that's it's about the ability of students to interpret a document. The document, it's say the movie or the song from other culture and explain it and relate it to the document from their own culture. So they have the way to understand what is happening in other culture and how they see it from their own culture. So this is the skill of interpreting and relating, interpreting the other culture and also relating to ours. The first one is a skill of discovery in interaction. A skill of discovery in interaction is the ability to acquire new knowledge, culture or culture practices, and the ability to operate that knowledge and attitude, also the skill under the constraint of real-time communication interaction. So it means that when they find this kind of say they discover something, some say some connection between that culture and theirs, and also they say that actually that happened because of that interaction of the real time, something that they can discuss with their friend about what is happening. It's become a skill of discovery and interaction. So that one is really a good one, a good skill to teach related to intercultural competence. And the last one is critical culture awareness or political education. This one is the ability to evaluate critically on the basis of explicit criteria perspective. So, for example, if you come from one country, say what happened now is if you listen to a Chinese song, for example, or Indian song, you understand actually what happened in that country, or what happened is like the background of that song, or what is the background of that movie, for example. Like I can give you the example of, for example, say when I ask them to, when they choose a freedom writer, for example. Freedom writer actually it's an actual movie, or that happened like not really long time ago, and it's the real one, which the teacher also feel intimidated when she first time come to the class, and how she struggle to make the student really like to open the students' mind about what is happening if they, for example, kill each other, or if they die, for example, and there's nothing happen. There's not like when they die because of killing each other, it's not helping anyone, and like it's not like for the teacher word is it's useless. While actually they have to be really close to each other, understand each other, and then solve their problem. Even in the real life, not only in the class. So this movie actually teach my student about what is happening in America at the time, especially in California, when actually racism still exists. About, for example, Black people matter, for example, or when we talk about what is happening to Latin America people that they consider as criminals and so on. So those kind of things become clear to them, not only as when I teach them based on a textbook, for example. It's not sounds real to them, and it's very hard for them to, it's very hard to give them the idea of whatever happened related to political education, or even cultural awareness related of that political education. I think that's the thing that I can explain about bureau models of intercultural competence. I hope that it answers the question. Okay, so I give back to Ibu Aida.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Dina Rafidiyah. Okay, okay, audience, do you have still more questions to our speakers?
Dina.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Bu Dina.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, audience, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions for our speakers? We still have much time. Okay, so someone is raising his hand. So I would like to invite Mr. Rizwan Awing. You might open your mic.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, it's really nice presentation about the two speakers actually about the culture, and I'm really curious about Mrs. Dina or Miss Dina presentation, especially about a culture self-awareness, ma'am? Okay, when we teach about the culture, especially about the self-awareness in front of the class or formal class, it will be a piece of cake to imply what the theoretical that we make. But when we are teaching for informal situation or informal class, it will be tough to make self-awareness. So what is the suggestion or what is the key for us as a teacher to rise or to create the students' self-awareness, especially in their understanding what they are learning about? Okay, that's all, Miss Aida. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rizwan. So, okay, I would like to repeat the question since Ibu Dina has internet connection troubles. So, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Rizwan question is about create students awareness about intercultural awareness in classroom. Is that correct, Mr. Rizwan? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Rizwan, for the question. I'm so sorry that when I hear your question, actually it was really a lot of, I don't know, like internet connection problem. So it's putus-putus ya. Okay, so I try to why it's. I think the question is, please correct me if I'm wrong. You said that why intercultural competence is really important to teach with the student. So it's, in my opinion, actually based on the research that already done by the expert, like speaking English in this global era actually make the student have no limit. Like they don't have any boundaries. They have to go out there and just speak English with anyone, regardless of they're from like native speaker or like non-native speaker and so on. What I give the experience to my student is like how to give them the experience to adjust with whatever they will encounter later on. So in my opinion, but actually you can correct me if I'm wrong, intercultural competence become really, really important. So I can give you the example of what misunderstanding can happen if someone just speak the language without understanding the context or without understanding what is the culture that face in front of all of them. So movie and song just a media for them to understand what is the culture that limitless all around the world. What I mean here is like I always told them about my experience when, say, since I was born in Baghdad and then finished my high school in Cairo, and I also like to travel all around. Even when I was in America, I also like to travel. Somehow, what happened in my experience, when the Western, for example, see Islam as the religion of violence, for example, because of what? Because of the news always talk about ISIS, the news always talk about terrorism and so on. So you have to be really have the openness to answer the person in front of you. Actually, what I understand for American, most of them, they never been abroad, and more than 60% of Americans, they don't have passport. So it means they don't know anything out there. They just know anything based on news. That's what I understand. So when someone come to my house and then she asked me if I'm a nun, and I said, no, I'm a Muslim. And she said, oh, yeah, I know, ISIS and terrorists. I said, why you have to say that? Because you never know me before. You never met me. You have never met me before. Why you said so? And she said that actually that what base I know regard of the news that she hear like every day. So I have to talk to her that actually that's not what Islam for. Islam is all bring peace. We never think about how to make war with someone else. We always want to try to be, have a caring one to other and so on. And we discussed a lot about that until the end of the conversation. She said that, you know what, you are the best Muslim that I have ever met before. And I said, have you ever met another Muslim? And she said, no. So that explained to me that actually as, when you talk to someone, always bring positivity with you. Never judge person because of something that they say, because maybe they don't know anything, and you have just to explain that to them. And after you explain that right way, they can accept it, which is that's a good way. But if I got emotional at that time, it will be really negative effect, because she can prove to someone else to say that, you know what, that's like, Muslim always bring violence everywhere. So that's why I want to teach those kind of value to my student, that to always have positive thing, that never talk, even though they hear something, they have to think critically about that. Is that positive? Is that negative? What does that happen? Ask question. Don't always say that's negative, negative, but you have to really ask more question to make sure that what is their meaning of that question, not just saying that's negative, and negative. I hope that that answer really answer your question, because that's based on my own experience, and that's really happened to me when I was in America. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rizwan.
All right, Mr. Rizwan, do you still have further questions to Ibu Dina?
Yeah, I think that's enough for the explanation. Thank you, Ms. Dina.
Okay, so and then for the next question is for both of speakers. Mr. Markus, are you still with us?
I'm here, Bu.
Okay, so the next question is for both of the speakers. What is the most interesting part of incorporating local culture into EFL? The question is from Mr. Muhammad Hasbi. And then the second, what is the challenges? Maybe this is already answered by the speakers. Maybe you can answer the first questions. Okay, please, maybe Pak Markus or Ibu Dina, you might answer. Okay, maybe Pak Markus, you may answer the questions.
Okay, thank you from Pak Hasbi. What is the interesting point of implementing culture in this study? One policy of MBKM is the higher education to encounter the change of the change of culture and globalizations. And the result of the study shows the positive impact on the implementations of our cultural tourism in ELT context in terms of affective, behavioral, and cognitive aspect. So the result of this study can support the MBKM. So whatever the conditions, the change of curriculum, including the implementation of MBKM, a culture can be implemented in MBKM because the result of the study shows the positive affective, behavioral, and cognitive aspect in ELT context. Thank you, Pak Hasbi. Ibu Noor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Markus. Now let's move to Ibu Dina.
Okay, so Okay, thank you, Pak Hasbi, for the question. Actually, why it's really important for us to understand you. If you remember, my first slide is asking what is people identify you as a person. So why I ask that question? Because before we go to other culture, we have to really have a good root in our own culture and our own habit, our own attitude. When we see whatever outside there, culture outside of our own, we can see a lot of different things. And all of that culture, actually, we have to measure it with our own culture. Yeah, so that is the thing that filter our student to follow or not follow that culture based on their own value. So I think it's very important for my student. For example, when I see, for example, there is a picture of a sexy woman in the library reading books, I always ask my student, what do you see in that picture? And then the student has to answer what they see. For example, oh, the women dress so sexy, for example. And she like drinking, say, I don't know, like coffee or whatever. And then she's reading a book. The book is quite thick, for example. It's related to her course, I think. That's what the student think. So from all the explanation of the student, I ask them to decide which one that they can imitate and which one that is against their value. So as a Muslim or Muslimah, they have to wear hijab. Of course, they cannot wear any sexy clothes. And they also cannot, like, for example, talk while drinking coffee. So they have to really, when they eat or drink, they have to really focus. Or, for example, they have to recite dua or prayer before and after drinking or eating. Those kind of thing is make them, see what is the positive of that picture related to that. Oh, that girl is really hardworking in learning her courses. And the negative thing, which is the sexy one, they can say that, okay, that is against our culture, that's against our value. We cannot wear a sexy clothes, for example, outside of our home, because it's not appropriate for our culture and our religion. So that is what happened when we bring another culture, but also we equip them with our own culture that they believe that it's rooted in our region, which is sometimes several region in Indonesia have several value also. So that is really a good example. It's really good example for the student to think. So that is what critical thinking for. That is what the skill of 21st century come on, because they can see and then evaluate. They can see and then think this is good, this is bad, this is, I can do that, I can do better than her. I cannot do that because it's not appropriate, and so on. So I think that's my answer for your question, Mr. Hasbi. I hope that it's answered the question. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for our speakers. Maybe this is our last two questions. It's from Ilmia, who has already raised her hands. Ilmia, can you open your mic? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Noor.
Okay.
Well, I would like to ask to Mr. Markus. Pak Dr. Markus.
Yeah, Ibu Ilmia, my classmate also.
Oh yeah, Okay, just now you said that you have interviewed some lecturers who teach art culture in their class. My question is, could you explain what method that the lecturer used to apply art culture in the classroom?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Ilmiah. Pak Markus, you might answer the questions.
Okay. Ibu Ilmiah, thank you. Sekaligus kakak ibu saya di UNEM. Okay. I've interviewed 4 lecturers in relation to the implementations of cultural tourism in the ELT context, and the question is what method are used by each lecturer in ELT context. Just I explained before that the classifications of lectures in supporting art cultural tourism in ELT context classify into 3 parts. They are strongly supportive of art cultural tourism, fairly supportive of cultural tourism, and weakly supportive of art cultural tourism. The 2 classification of lectures here that implement art cultural tourism in ELT context. The first classification is lecturers who is strongly supportive of art cultural tourism, implement constructivist approach such independent learning, inquiry-driven learning, and self-regulated learning. And for the fairly supportive of art cultural tourism in ELT context, apply the varied approach in the classroom process from student-centered learning to teacher-centered learning. So not fully constructivist approach from student-centered learning to teacher-centered learning. And for the last classifications of the way the lectures support art cultural tourism, that is lecturers who is weakly supportive of art cultural tourism, implement the teacher-centered approach in art cultural tourism in ELT context. Ibu Dr. Ilmiah. Ibu Noor.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Markus.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Ilmiah, and also Pak Markus. Maybe this is our last questions for also for Pak Markus. How to teach students about art culture in ALT who have no patience of arts? I always find the case like this. Okay, the question is from Mr. Irswan Awi. Okay.
Ibu Noor, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay, so this is the question is from Mr. Rizwan. The question is about how to teach students about art culture in ELT who have no patience of art. Since Pak Rizwan always find the cases in his class.
Okay.
That's the questions. Okay.
Okay. The 4 lectures here actually not the lectures of such tourism courses or English for English for tourism. Not actually the 4 lectures here is lectures of research methodology, research on ELT, and 1 lectures teach cross-cultural understanding and grammar. But in the process of implementation of the ELT here, based on the 3 stages, there are preparations, implementations, and evaluations. 3 implementations, the lecturers include the cultural aspects such as belief, norms, social practices, and a value in the beginning, in the middle, and the last part of teaching process. For instance, through discourse analysis, I observed that the lecturers implements such ritual of indigenous Toraja, such that ceremony, wedding ceremony, and Thanksgiving for the new house in Toraja, and also including such art, woven carving, and so on, that easily as an example and elaboration of material, because culture exactly dealing with the culture, their own culture, we can help the learners to understand the material because it's their own. They are first hand the culture, and of course easily to understand the material because the lecturers bring the situational context to the classroom. But again, that the learners need the real object of the tourism. They need to go to the tourism object to see the real term of cultural pattern that exists in Toraja, because several aspects invisible as an invisible part of culture, and the rest is visible one. Ibu Noor.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Markus. So I think that's it for our quick question and answer questions. Thank you again for Ibu Dina Rafidiyah and also Pak Markus Deli Girik Allo for answering amazing questions and for the great presentations. It was a pleasure to have all of you with us. So this concludes the webinar. Thank you for the audience for attending National Seminar on English Language Teaching, Issues in Language Teaching webinar. We hope you have learned and enjoyed these presentations. Okay, maybe I will give it back to the committee.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Nur Aida. Okay, well, all of the participants, this is the end of our event today, National Seminar on ELT, Issues in Language Teaching. Thank you so much for our speaker today, Dr. Eni Satriana, S.Pd. M.Pd. from Makassar Muhammadiyah University, Dr. Arifin, S.Pd. M.Pd. from Borneo Tarakan University, Ibu Haja Dina Rafidiyah, S.Sos, S.Pd.Ing, SS, M.Ed. from Muhammadiyah University of Banjarmasin. And then Dr. Markus Deli Girik Allo, S.Pd. M.Pd. from Kristen, Indonesia, Toraja University. And our beautiful moderators for today, Ibu Dr. Eka Prabawati Rum, M.Pd. from Makassar Muhammadiyah University, and then Ibu Nur Aida Aflahah, M.Pd. from Muhammadiyah University of Banjarmasin. Thank you so much, and for all of the great participants for today, thank you for your participation from the morning until this afternoon. Thank you so much. And then I would like to inform about certificate. We will send to your email based on our presence that you fill out today in session 1 and session 2. I think enough. Thank you so much. We hope we can meet in next event, maybe in the other collaboration with the other university, because we so grateful because we have many participation from the other university, from Java, from Kalimantan, and etc. Okay, thank you so much. We close our event today by saying Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ibu.